Guardians bats club George Kirby all the way to Nightmare Land instead of Dreamland. We'll talk about the Guardians' balanced offensive approach and another series win over the Mariners. And we'll look ahead to the first divisional matchup of the year against the Twins.
You are Locked On Guardians, your daily podcast on the Cleveland Guardians, part of the Locked On Podcast Network, your team every day.
Hello, everyone, and welcome to today's show. Today's episode is brought to you by eBay Motors. From brake kits to exhaust pads and beyond, eBay Motors has 122 million parts to keep your ride or die alive with all the parts you need at the prices you want. Keep your ride or die alive at ebaymotors.com. Eligible items only. Exclusions apply. eBay guaranteed fit. Only available to U.S. customers. That was a mouthful. What was not a mouthful, unless there's a lot of heeing and hawing and rooting, was the Guardians' wins. But before we get to there, I'm gonna do a hot take and say, if we're talking dream-based video games, I prefer Little Nemo, the Dream Master.
I don't know what that is. I just enjoyed the Kirby reference, and it took me a lot to pull that one out of my hat. I'm sorry,
Little.
It was Super Smash Bros. on Kirby today.
No, it was Little Nemo, the Dream Master was an NES game that was pretty brutally difficult, but had some things that definitely felt a little ahead of its time. But yeah, if you were a fan of that, comment below. I definitely remember playing that one quite a bit as a kid. I don't know, you got to wear different costumes and stuff before that was very common. But
it was like Fortnite before Fortnite. Interesting. I don't play a whole lot of those games. I do Mario Kart, I do the Show, I do Halo, and then some other sports games, and it's been a long time since I had a very varied offense,
Steam Deck.
very varied.
Right
I don't have a very varied video game collection anymore. I used to as a kid. Speaking of varied, the Guardians' offensive attack these last two games, very impressive. Nice to see. I don't know how many times last year we sat around and we're just hoping that Jose Ramirez would get the big hit because nobody else in the lineup could come through. You know, Quan was, at least in the first half, was experiencing some regression. And you were not getting a lot of offense from Mike Zunino. You were getting no offense from catcher, period, last year between Zunino and Cam Gallagher and maybe
Cam Gallagher was a record setter. He
was a record setter. He sure was. It was a very dubious record. Yeah, and Mabry's Valori was on this roster at this time last year, so that was funny. Like Josh Naylor wasn't the only guy in the offense besides Jose Ramirez a year ago, I feel like. And we just waited around for a lot of games to see if Jose or Josh Naylor would come through offensively every game. And the last 2 days, at least for the Guardians, didn't have to wait for that. I mean, we talked about it. I talked about it right now over on YouTube. You can see that on Tuesday night where 6 of the 12 hits came from the 6, 7, 9 spots in the order between Brennan, Naylor, and Rocchio to lead that 4-2 victory on Tuesday night. And then Wednesday, you had 7 of the 12 hits, I think, came from the top of the order between Quan, Jose, and Will Brennan was up there. Jimenez had 2 hits. Quan had 3 hits. So the bottom of the order, not as good today. Will Brennan had 2 more hits, but, nothing from Naylor. He struck out twice, Bo at least.
Yeah.
No offense from Gabriel Arias.
The top 5 did all the damage.
Yeah, and it was really the bottom 3 of the 4 on Tuesday night that did the damage that really came through, looking at 6, 8, 9. So really good to see that you're not having to rely on one piece of the offense early on. Everyone so far has had a game. Like, David Fry had a great game out in Oakland, even though he cost me a bunch of money. Jose Ramirez had a couple good games. Andres Jimenez has been the hottest player on the team, as we said over and over. Brian Rocchio showing, signs of power early. Quant had good games. Josh Naylor has a home run. Bo Naylor hit a big home run the other night. Like, everybody on this team offensively has done their part in different games. So it's got to feel relaxing for the team a little bit that nobody has to press, because like Tyler Freeman, I didn't mention Tyler Freeman didn't play today. He's been good offensively. Like, you don't have to rely on one guy, at least so far. And I feel like that's got to be something of a freeing feeling. I know Jose Ramirez at times, it feels like he chases a lot. Or
more than he used to, I think.
Yeah, and I think some of that is just like pressure to be the guy because the offense is just really him. And I don't know. It's just got to be a very freeing feeling right now that so far the offense has been very balanced in terms of everyday contributions.
No, it's just nice to see the balance. I pulled up over here. I was kind of curious. Like, obviously, this isn't going to last, but in terms of like weighted runs created plus, on this team, the only
Andres Medes is going to have 199 all year. Okay, just believe it.
So David Fry is keeping his 255. Good to know. And Jose Ramirez is keeping his 87. So it's like Jose Ramirez at an 87, Will Brennan at 86, and
Jose's over 100 if you look at live stats for the day. He's
Okay.
over 100. He's at 126 now.
Okay.
But
So
his on
Brennan,
base is 294.
yeah. So there's, I mean, listen, I'm not saying it's a bag on him, but this was before. Brennan was at an 86. He might be up over 100 now. Then Gabby, Hedges are the only guys below. I mean, even Florial for our comments yesterday is at a 127. Like the offense
He's
is
at a 102 after today.
Yeah. So the offense is clicking, and it should, in the fact that like they faced Oakland, but at the same time, the Seattle team has arguably the best rotation in the American League. So if we want to bag on them for beating up on Oakland, then we also have to give them credit. That's probably the worst start George Kirby's going to have all year. That might be his worst start of the year. Like, this is a guy who multiple people listed as a Cy Young candidate. And
very popular Cy Young candidate,
okay, this is my pat my back on this on self on the back moment. It's like George Kirby and Corbin Carroll were the two guys that I was sitting there. Why are these guys sliding late into the teens in this draft? And I tweeting, God, I hope they fall to Cleveland, who had a pick in the early 20s. Didn't happen, obviously, for either of those guys, but I'll still never understand why either of them slid. But Kirby's good. Hancock was the easiest guy they faced, and that's their loss so far. They beat up Luis Castilla. This is nice. I mean, if you're complaining about the offense, I don't know what to tell you right now. It is funny that they have like 5 total home runs and 3 triples and 14 doubles. That was, I think, coming into today. So those numbers have changed, but it's just they're doing it. This team, we talked about it in our preview show. You can go listen to the one where we make predictions. This team wasn't going to magically grow 70 more home runs. But what they might have magically grown or came into is 60 more doubles. Like they're hitting the gaps. They're using their speed and their youth, which is what they did 2 years ago when they contended. So it's nice to see, this team get after it. Like you can't be a non-hustle team and have this many doubles. And what I love, we were talking about before the game, is it's different guys contributing, but it's also a different lineup almost every day. Last year, like, hey, when the shortstop took a day off, the shortstop is still going to hit 2 because no one can move out of their role. No one else can hit in any other spot because guys need to be comfortable. I think guys spend most of their careers bouncing through various lineups. That there might be some degrees of comfort, but I think it's more about like just getting reps, getting them out there. And I don't know if it's Vogt. I feel like you and I have heard enough stories that Vogt in the front office are very much in lockstep. So this could be, a whole system approach to it, but I think it's the right approach. If it's whoever it is, if it's everyone, and it does feel like a very lockstep approach this year. And I think that's a big part of what's going on, why we're seeing more flexibility, why we saw them not have a DH, why we're seeing different lineups every day. I don't know if I want to say it's a deep team, but it is interesting. Like if you are on this team, you're going to play. You're not going to sit for a week and not get in any games. That is not how it works this year.
Yeah, Gabby Arias made his third start here, and kind of funny, like Tyler Freeman didn't start on getaway day. Last year, I feel like Tyler Freeman only got to play on Sundays or play getaway days. This year, this is only like this is only his second game not played. I'm sorry, this is his first game not second or that was 5 of 6, so this is 5 of 7. He has not played in 2 games. The only guys that have played every day so far are Jimenez and Kwan in terms of position. Jose's played every game, which I want to talk about too, because that was the second game he DH'd. I do like that. But yeah, it was coming in today with 6 lineups in 6 games. And I think today was probably the 6th or 7th different lineup. It was at least the 6th different lineup in 7 games today. Everyone's playing. Everyone's getting a chance to play a role. And that's what you have to do. You have to be able to use the talent on your roster. I mean, Vogt and the front office know what they have on their roster, and they have to look at it of, how can we get the most potential out of our offense, out of any spot on a roster, and win these games with a payroll this low? Like, we have to go out because this is not a team that's really rebuilding. I mean, you have young players. Like Arias is still trying to establish himself. Brennan needs to. Freeman's still trying to. Bo Naylor's still trying to, solidify his spot, even though we know he's, locked in, at least at this point, in terms of He's going to get a lot of run. Rocchio, like all those guys are still trying to make names for themselves in the big league. So it's still a very young lineup. So this team is not really rebuilding. They should be looking towards contention, even though it's not the most complete team. They're not playing in the most complete division, thankfully, but you have to go through and you have to use what you have to get yourself in the right positions to win. And, I give him credit too for letting vote. And maybe it is a holistic approach across the board, but letting him feel out what works with him, what works with the team, and putting the team in the best position to win every single night, whether Jose's batting second, whether he's hitting third, whether it's platooning Brennan and Laureano, like we thought, playing a ton of Freeman, just playing the hot hands early. They're playing the hot hands early. Rocchio has been hot. Freeman's been hot. Fry, he's getting at bats when left-handers are in there. And we said yesterday, Vote's been quick to get pinch hitters in there when the team moves to a lefty or a righty, if that matchup comes up. So putting themselves in the best position to win every night has been a nice change. And they sure as heck haven't been in as many close games, which feels pretty good. We'll talk more about the offense's balanced approach. We'll talk about some playing time stuff. We'll talk about, of course, we got to talk about Bieber and Logan Allen's great start. And then we got to look ahead to Minnesota for the first division matchup of the year still to come. Well, we just talked about putting the right pieces in place to win every night. That is no different from your vehicle. Passion, drive, and patience are the winning formula for winning championships. Also keeps your ride or die alive. eBay Motors is everything you need to maintain your vehicle and level it up to peak performance, just like the Guardians lineup. Superchargers, roof racks, exhaust kits, LED headlights, and more. If you're into speed, power, style, eBay Motors has you covered with more than 122 million parts for your number one ride or die, your Jose Ramirez vehicle. You'll always find exactly what you're looking for, and with eBay Guaranteed Fit, the part is guaranteed to fit your ride every time your money back, because with eBay Motors, you're burning rubber, not cash. With all the parts you need and the prices you want, it's easy to make your car the MVP, the Jose Ramirez of cars, and bring home huge wins like the Guardians have been so far. Keep your ride or die alive at ebaymotors.com. Eligible items only, exclusions apply. eBay Guaranteed Fit, only available to U.S. customers. Home opener is coming up. Maybe you want to go to Minnesota. I don't know. The Guardians play in Minnesota. They are off on Friday. Maybe you want to head to Minnesota for the weekend to see the matchups up there. Game Time is the right app to do that because maybe you haven't bought your tickets yet. Sports, comedy, theater, all those events are on Game Time, and you can buy tickets at the last minute. If you're one of those kind of people that likes to do that sort of thing. Like I said the other day, I'm going to be buying tickets to the Black Keys when they come to Cleveland. I'll probably use Game Time because I've just had a lot of good luck finding good seats at the last minute and not trying to buy ahead, because you never know what's going to happen. I might be busy moving up into that concert. Maybe you just are someone who likes to plan things at the last minute and just be spontaneous. So you can save up to 60% off buying last minute for all those events. You get flash deals, zone deals, all in pricing. So buy your tickets and know what you're going to pay out the door without any surprises when you get to the checkout. And with Game Time Guarantee, you'll get the lowest price. They'll credit you 10% of the difference if you find the same ticket in the same section and row for less. Take the guesswork out of buying tickets with Game Time. For a limited time, all users can get $20 off MLB purchases of $150 or more in the Game Time app with our code FIRSTPITCH. Terms apply, and that is code FIRSTPITCH, all one word, all caps, for $20 off from March 25th to April 14th only. Any MLB purchase over $150. Download the Game Time app today. Lowest last minute tickets, lowest prices guaranteed. I do like that Jose has DH twice so far in 7 games. I think needed. Once or twice a week is a good thing for him. So that's 7. Yeah, so that's twice in 7 games. And they also they're playing 8 games with no off day. So that helps. And then Bo got one of those too. So the open flex DH so far has been working in their favor. We'll see how much longer that lasts, because I'm just going to say Esteban Florial. I don't want to jump to conclusions, because I sit here and say we shouldn't jump off the bridge on Carrasco or McKenzie, and I shouldn't jump off the bridge on Florial either. But it's, that is what it is. You wanted to point one thing out, though, about 2023 versus 2024, and I will probably push back a little bit on that when you say what you're going to say here.
So they face the same teams. a year ago, though they actually had one more game against
Which is
Seattle,
odd.
one less against Oakland, and they have the exact same record that they had a year ago. They're 5-2 a year ago this time, and they're 5-2 now. Now it is very different in terms of the games, and I'm sure I won't steal your thunder with you talking about how this is a different situation, but it is kind of interesting to state, like, hey, guess what? Exact same record facing the same teams, and Seattle is, I think, inarguably worse than a year ago, and Oakland is likely as well.
What is the MLB schedule maker? What are they doing? Because this is like the office picture of asking Pam to describe the different pictures, and she's like, "Tell us the difference in these two pictures," and it says these are the exact same pictures, and it's just the schedule makers just flipped around Seattle and Oakland, and they called it a new original idea in the Guardians schedule. I don't understand that at all, but whatever. Yeah, last year, the Guardians got shut out opening night at Seattle 3-0. And then they wanted to score 9 runs the next night. And then they won a 2-0 game in game 2. And then after that, they played 3 straight 1-run games. They won 6-5 against Seattle. They had to score. They did score 11 or 12 against Oakland, but it took 10 innings. They played 3 extra inning games in 4 days between games 4 and game 7. And then they also played a 12-inning game in game 10. So no extra inning games so far. The Guardians have had 2 1-run games. Both losses, then they came back in those. It wasn't like they blew late leads in those.
No.
So they were behind from the get-go, which, you don't want to be behind, but also we know from last year how gut-wrenching it is to have a lead and blow it. And that's going to happen at some point. Like, we know it's going to happen, right? But, the offense so far has been able to spread things out a little bit. I mean, they've had, 3 games, I think, so far where they haven't had to use Class A, which was 2 games in Oakland and then 1 game in this series in terms of wins. So it is nice to be able to spread things out a little bit and not have to play a close game, at least early on. And keep Class A's workload to a minimal until the second half. When
he's got the least amount of appearances in the bullpen, right? Like, that is such a weird thing from a year ago. Like, yeah, who's the less
you see your all-star closer, the better. That's weird.
Well, just like, let's not use him until his arm falls off,
right? That's what we wanted coming into the year, right?
No, I know. So, I'm agreeing. I'm saying I think it's the right call. It's nice that he's going to other places now. Maybe Morgan made us sweat again yesterday. Maybe he's not the guy we want them going to. So normally he's good at the start of the year. This is a new area for him to struggle with. But
we both took the under on his appearances at 74, right? We both said under.
I believe.
I think he's gonna. I think I'm gonna stick with that. Here's one thing I want to throw out at you, because I'm seeing a lot of this with Guardians fans on Twitter, and it's.
Why are you on Twitter? That's where you're starting off wrong to begin with.
That's where my problem is. It's X anyway.
No, it's Twitter, but it's a cesspool.
But it's a mix of things. Like, I'm seeing when we talk about Shane Bieber's first two starts. Obviously, he's off to a fantastic start. He's pitching great, looks great, it looks healthy, and he says he can get better because he feels like he hasn't been at his best yet. Which, hopefully true. It's, you don't want to beat your best 2 starts into the season, truthfully, but. We've got this back and forth of people who are like, yes, the better Bieber pitches, the more likely we can trade him for something good. And then you've got some people who are like, well, what if they're contending? Like, why can't we just enjoy him pitching well for the Guardians and go to the playoffs? And if he pitches well, there's no downside for the Guardians if Shane Bieber pitches well. Let's be honest about that. Like, if he pitches well, either one way they're gonna recoup a draft pick. Or number 2, if he pitches well, they could trade him if they're out of it. But I don't know. There are some cases where they've held on to guys if they're contending. Like Michael Brantley, they never traded, right? And I know left field is different than starting pitching, but how do you feel so far about watching Bieber and these kind of like not opposing feelings? What's the right word? There's just it's a mixed feeling of, are we watching him and enjoying these starts because it increases his trade value, or are we watching these starts and he's pitching well and we're like, okay, well, this could be a great rotation if Bieber's this good, and this could be a playoff team if he anchors the rotation the way he can. Like, how do you think we're balancing those kind of mixed outcomes here this season?
I think you kind of have to look at it as, having, like, I'm looking at it from the view of like, this was a guy that so many people were willing to trade this offseason for nothing. We're just
I
willing
thought he
to.
was traded this offseason.
He was traded to the Reds right before Christmas, right?
The Reds, I'm sorry. And then it was the Cubs.
Then it was the Cubs
on a Friday. Yeah.
But there were so many people who were just so ready to run him out on a rail, even though he had done nothing wrong, which is, hey, we can maybe get a bat for him. And we knew that wasn't the case. Again, like, look at the Corbin Burns trade, where essentially they got two pieces. Yes, they got a draft pick, but that draft pick is almost to balance out the draft pick they would have gotten at the end of the year anyways. So they got a reliever and a good defensive shortstop. That's not great, right? Like, and honestly, we see higher returns often at the deadline.
And a pick. They got a pick.
But the pick gets, like I said, the pick gets bounced out because if they had held on to him, they would have essentially gotten the same pick. They just get it a year earlier in a weaker draft. Like, in some regards,
at that point, yes.
At that point, like, you'd almost rather have the pick next year than this year. Like, I like the top of this class, but after about pick 9, pick 10 through 40 is meh at best. Yeah. So, there's just not a lot of value. It's like holding on to him was the right call. And if they're playing well, then hey, as you said, guess what? Next year, 2 first-round picks. That's far from the worst thing in the world. I know there's people screaming extend him, but his injury, like, I don't understand that. With his injury history, he's not someone you extend. This is a guy who's not.
And he's betting on himself at this point.
Yeah, he's not going to want that, and you don't want that because you don't want a pitcher who hasn't been able to stay healthy. You give it to someone like Kluber because that guy was always out there, and when he did fall apart, it was like completely. You're not looking to extend to Shane Bieber, who has a history of health issues. You ride him, and if you're falling apart, you flip him if you can get better value in a first-round pick, and if you're playing well, hey, let's see where he can go. And getting a first-round pick back is not the worst thing for this team. So I just look at it as this is a net win. This is why you don't sit back and say, trade him for whatever you can get, because there was always a chance for a rebirth, and we're seeing that. And even if it's short-lived, they're getting more value because pitching is so expensive. Kyle Gibson is making as much as him this year. So, I'm just holding on to him was the right call.
Yeah, it's just interesting to see the conflicting feelings. Everyone seems to have a different view, which is fine. We all have different viewpoints, but
no, you must all agree with me.
Yes, we always get it right here, of course, except for the times that we don't get it right, which is also
don't listen to my takes on Cord Phelps.
Oh, I was there once too with Cord Phelps. We will once be back again with a look ahead to the Minnesota Twins series, and we have to talk about Logan Allen start a little bit as well.
So today you could have said more or less on Logan Allen for, was it 6 strikeouts that he ended up with in this one? Was it 7? Or more or less on Julio strikeouts, and he had 2. But that's the thing with PrizePicks. It's not you versus somebody else. It's you versus the numbers. It is just you versus the numbers. It's as simple as that. You pick your stat categories, 2 or more player stats, and watch the winnings roll in. Don't take RBIs. That's my one piece of advice. RBIs are not dependent on the player, but the player is hitting in front of them and the player. There is some dependency on the player, but there's an equal part on someone else. So avoid the RBI one. That's how you lose money on PrizePicks. But go, have fun with it. You can get in on the playoff action and win 100 times your money on PrizePicks, as the world's best players take the game to a new level during basketball's postseason. Playoffs begin April 20th, a play-in round on the 16th, 17th, and 19th. So go check that out. Remember, it's just you versus the numbers. Have some fun. Check it out for yourself. It is the #1 fantasy sports app. Download the app and use the code LOCKEDONMLB for a first-time deposit match up to $100. Again, that's code LOCKEDONMLB, all lowercase, all one word, with our good friends PrizePicks. Check it out for yourself. There's a reason why they're #1. Pick more, pick less. It's that easy.
One more note on the Guardians offense. Still the hardest team to strike out in baseball. They're right behind the Cubs just by a little bit, but they're still not walking. They're still bottom 5 in walks. So there is that.
Freeman
but they're second in doubles. Yeah.
Yeah.
Hey, they're middle of the pack in isolated power. They're what all we got? They're 11th in slugging percentage. So, little victories there. Little victory too for the pitching staff. Logan Allen gets into the 7th inning. I know we had some people saying the pitching staff hasn't been as bad as we think. McKenzie was shaky for sure in his first start. Bybee was just not as sharp and was dealing with some of the elements. And then Carrasco bobbed and weaved. I'm curious to see what he does against the Twins next time out.
It was a game that very easily could have just been a blowout. So that's what, well, if we have time to get to the Twins one, I'm nervous about this weekend because I don't like the matchups, but we shouldn't let even a bad weekend throw us off what has been a great season with a lot of positives. I just want to pepper that in before we get there. Carrasco struggled, McKenzie's velocity, but the rest of it, but I didn't expect Allen to step up and make Julio look like, Miles Straw.
Yeah, I mean, Logan Allen versus George Kirby, you're thinking, wow, this might be like a, 4-3 Mariners win. And then, Logan Allen was out there just dotting the ball everywhere. He got some swings. I mean, he outpitched George Kirby. Some of that was, the Mariners defense, and obviously the Guardians offense stepped up. But I mean, he had quite a few whiffs. I mean, he had 9 swings and misses, 5 of them on his 4-seam, which is the most, which doesn't really happen a whole lot for him. So he put it in good spots and was throwing the cutter. He was just, mixing in a lot of pitches. George Kirby, the Guardians swung and missed 8 times against him. So if PrizePicks, you had more swings and misses versus Logan Allen than you did George Kirby, then you won that one. But that would have been a good payout. So good for Logan Allen. I think he puts the bullpen. Him and Bieber both put the bullpen into a good spot going into the Twin Series at the very least, because after that McKenzie start, you and I had concerns about the bullpen in terms of being overworked. And now they're well rested. You get some nights off for some important guys. Clase has only pitched twice this year, and it's good. We'll get to the Twins in just a second. Want to give a quick update on some health guys. So Xavier Curry, fantastic rehab outing for the Clippers on Wednesday night. He went 2 2/3 innings, struck out 7, a hit and a walk. Everything worked well for him. He did exactly what you think he would do. Was throwing 90 to 93 and missed a lot of bats. The slider threw 53 pitches, all good things there. I still think Curry ends up in AAA. I don't see room for him at this point, but
they need to keep the length.
They just need an option. Yeah. Gavin Williams is headed out to Arizona to get stretched out. So he threw a bullpen session, and now he's got to go to Arizona to kind of like throw more bullpens, throw some sim games, get used to getting up and down again. So he'll probably need a little time to, go from to like 20 pitches. They essentially said he's got to start spring training over, basically, from where he was. So, he's got to do a 20 pitch inning and a 3 inning outing, and he's got to do 5 innings, and he's got to go in rehab starts. So like, it's probably going to be till the end of the month till you get Gavin Williams back. But the good news is he's on the road to recovery, and that should be happening soon. Ben Lively's got a rehab outing this week scheduled as well. He will come back because, as we all know on the show, Ben Lively is completely out of options every which way you look. So he'll be back. Sam Hentges has not thrown a bullpen yet, but he will in the next couple of days, according to manager Stephen Vogt. So all good things in terms of health, at least the guys that you're expecting to be health-wise. And then we'll close the show with the Twins matchups real quick, but I did see that the Guardians and Progressive agreed to a 13-year contract, so the Progressive Field will be around for the next 13 years, could be even longer. If you're in Cleveland, you've noticed the signs over Progressive Field. There is a lot more Progressive signage there. So in case you forgot it was Progressive Field, it will be Progressive Field for a long time, and those signs will be there for a long time. So, hey, all I can say is hopefully that injects some cash and Progressive feels stable about the Guardians. That's the only thing I can think of at this point.
Yeah, anything that helps with money is a good thing, right? When you're a small market. You don't want to be the Royals where you ask for the largest public back stadium ever and then no one votes for it.
Blow up. That was bad.
Yeah.
That was bad.
Yeah. No, maybe you need to have like a consistent plan. Like that was also like one of the worst approaches I've ever seen, where it's like, we've got a plan. We'll show it to us. Oh, no, those fell apart. We got a new plan. Have you got those businesses? Their whole plan for the stadium was about as well put together and thought out as the Royals rebuild has been.
Ouch.
You're right. The rebuild had a better plan. I'm sorry.
Hey, the Royals have beat the Orioles today. Just saying.
I know. The Twins. So
Wednesday.
The Twins pitching has not been great, but Pablo Lopez and Joe Ryan are stalwarts for them, and those two guys are going this weekend. Cleveland's 2 weakest pitchers, McKenzie and Carrasco, are also going this weekend. You got the guy you and I thought would be the ace this year going on Thursday against Lopez. It's a tough matchup. Hopefully, Tanner will be able to grip the ball a little better and be more of the guy we saw a year ago. But then after that, I don't really, though Bailey Ober, I have been a fan. I know he was not great either. So it's like tough matchup.
He was not great. He was horrible.
No. Saturday, I'm not feeling good about it at all. And then Sunday is just a toss up. But yeah, I mean, like I said, we've had a good start. The one thing is there's going to be losses. It's 162 games. They're going to lose series. It just stinks that 2 series in a row, we almost got sweeps. We know that it took till June of last year to get the first sweep, and there's only 2 all year. So I don't know, maybe I should switch and go completely positive and say this is the sweep. But if it's not, also like, let's hang on. Like, let's not overreact, even if it's a bad weekend. Like, let's just enjoy it and realize this team looks good and it's fun. And I think they'll win more than they lose. And every week there's that chance for that bad weekend.
Yeah, not overreacting. I mean, everything in the first week is magnified. You overreact to every little thing that happens with your team, and you think it's the end of the world because you haven't seen baseball in 6 months or 3 months, whatever it is, and it's a long season, and people, it's not football. They just forget that. But let's not forget that the Twins are beat up. I mean, you're not going to have to face Johan Duran with while you're losing. No Caleb Thielbar, no Justin Topa, who they traded over the offseason. Royce Lewis is going to be out for a while.
Yeah, Topa's hurt.
Yeah, it's
their
the
pen
3
is
starters are throwing are Lopez is good, Ryan is good, but hey, the Guardians, I know you're with the pitching. The Guardians though just were able to beat up on 2 of the best pitchers in baseball, so offensively you feel good about that going into Minnesota. Which just said that the offense should feel at ease, just knowing they're not relying on one guy to get the big hit, and you're facing 2 more good pitchers. You just beat up 2 good pitchers. The bullpen is rested, so even if hopefully Bybee goes out, pitches really well on Thursday, gets into the 7th inning like Allen was going to, and then saves the bullpen for Saturday, Sunday with Carrasco and McKenzie pitching, and it's not as big a deal because the Twins again are beat up themselves too. The offense is good. We got to see old friend Carlos Santana, who I'm sure will frustrate us more than once, but yeah, they're kind of a battered team too. And like you said, Sunday's kind of a toss-up. To be fair, Tristan McKenzie's best start out of the 2 a year ago was against the Twins. I think he struck out 10, didn't he? Wasn't that his 10 strikeout start in 5 innings?
Is that the one in August? It was right?
I can't. No. That was his first start of the year coming back off the IL to start the season.
No, I thought that one didn't go well. I thought his first start back were like, oh, something's not right, and then he immediately went back on. I can't remember though. Okay. I'm struggling to remember. I feel like he had a decent start in August against somebody, but we'll have to see. Like I said, it's too early for anything. Like, let's be honest. We're gonna have takes because that's our job, and we're gonna respond to things. And I just want to say, quote a great man and say, enjoy him. Just enjoy him.
Yes, enjoy Shane Bieber. Hey, the Royals beat the Twins 11-0. That was a bad one. Brady Singer shut down the offense. If Brady Singer can do it, I think Carrasco can do it. I think McKenzie can do it. And we know Bybee can do it. So, because I have no faith in Brady Singer.
Yeah.
Someone's going to send him this podcast, and his lawyers are going to cease and desist us. But
Tanner's from being like, you guys are getting a little too creepy in your love for him.
Yeah, I guess so.
Cease and desist from Tanner Bybee's estate. I don't know why.
Well, we already told we're not important enough to have him on the show again. So we've already been given that cease and desist. We kind of got. We're going to cease and desist. We're back to our cease jokes.
Yeah, and they are ceaselessly funny.
Yes,
but we're
going to cease to be talking anymore.
Tomorrow we'll have a. It's another day game tomorrow.
Another day game. Yeah, it's a 4 o'clock.
It's all day
games,
right? That. So it's like no game on Friday, and then 2 more day games. So keep your afternoons open. We'll have plenty to talk about. Make sure you're joining us here on the show every single day for Guardians talk, prospect talk, draft talk. That's been heating up of late. So thank you all for following us, listening every day. Like John, you know who you are. David, haven't been in the comments. I hope you're doing well, my friend. But to all of our everydayers, thank you for joining us, being a part of the team, and to everyone out there, go Guardians, go.